Supreme Court rejecting a request by special counsel Jack Smith to decide now whether the former president has immunity so his trial can begin on time in March. It comes as new evidence emerges, the reported tape of Mr. Trump pressuring Michigan election officials, what he allegedly said. Also tonight, the tragedy in Gaza, the first known American listed as a hostage, confirmed dead. The fears for his wife, still in captivity. The heart-pounding body cam, police responding to the deadly mass shooting at a university in Prague. What it reveals, the record surge at the border and the new reporting. Our cameras there as busloads of migrants are released onto Arizona's streets. The holiday travel crush, millions on the move, and the storms we're tracking. Will they disrupt your trip? The dramatic rescue, a man trapped under rocks for days in a tunnel on a San Diego cliffside the moment he was finally freed. And a Christmas card like no other. One family's surprise gift for dad that brought him to tears 30 years in the making. They will allow the dispute to be heard by a lower court first, potentially delaying Mr. Trump's March trial date. It comes as new evidence emerges. A reported audio tape of Mr. Trump pressuring Michigan election officials not to certify the 2020 election. Laura Jarrett starts us off tonight with this latest twist in the looming legal battle.
Tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court handing Donald Trump the practical victory he wanted, punting for now on a legal issue that could make or break the federal case that accuses him of plotting to overturn the last election. The High Court declining the special counsel's request to answer right now whether Mr. Trump is immune from prosecution. A lower court concluding the presidency doesn't confer a lifelong get-out-of-jail-free pass, a decision Mr. Trump had appealed, arguing complete immunity for anything that happened while he was in office. That led prosecutors to ask the Supreme Court to step in and quickly resolve the issue now. Today's decision all but guaranteeing the existing trial date set for March will slip. All this as the prosecution's hand is strengthened on a different front. The Detroit News reporting it reviewed audio recordings of Mr. Trump pressing two local Republican officials not to certify the 2020 election results in Wayne County, Michigan, telling them, "We can't let these people take our country away from us."
He thanked me for my service, asked me how I was doing.
NBC News has not heard or verified the audio. The Trump campaign maintains the former president was focused on election integrity. The call itself only described benignly by one of those local officials at the time.
Are you saying the president's call had no influence on you recanting your vote?
Absolutely.
All right, Laura Jarrett joins us now here in studio. So, Laura, walk our viewers through this immunity issue and what happens next for the former president.
So the federal appeals court there in Washington will hear the case on January 9th, and then whoever loses in front of that court can then appeal to the Supreme Court, Tom. But all this back and forth could take many months. That's why the trial date is in jeopardy.
Yeah. Okay, Laura Jarrett on that breaking news for us. Laura, we appreciate it. We want to turn now to another major story, the first known death of an American hostage believed taken by Hamas. It comes just as the UN Security Council passed a resolution calling for more aid to Gaza. As our Jay Gray reports, a key crossing is now open to deliver it.
Tonight, we've learned an American hostage won't be coming home. His family says Gadi Haggai, an Israeli-American, was shot during the October 7th attacks. Exactly when he died is unclear, and tonight, his wife Judy remains in captivity. That tragic news announced today as negotiations for the release of the hostages have apparently stalled.
The humanitarian resolution before us calls for urgent steps.
And after a week of delays, this afternoon, the UN Security Council, with the U.S. and Russia abstaining, passed a resolution calling for creating the conditions for a sustainable cessation of hostilities, not a full ceasefire, and an increase in humanitarian aid for Gaza. Aid like this. These are the first pictures of trucks passing through the newly opened Kerem Shalom border crossing between Israel and Gaza. About 80 trucks a day move through Kerem Shalom, stopping here for inspections, and then all of the food, water, and medicine moves across the border and into Gaza. A colonel in Israel's military
Finally,
telling us,
in terms of food, the reserves in Gaza Strip are sufficient for the near term. There is no food shortage in Gaza.
The images of children waiting hours for a bowl of soup to feed their family And the words of those on the ground tell a much different story. 12-year-old Norhat tells us, when we were home, we were eating meat and rice, but today, we didn't eat anything. The UN calls the hunger crisis in Gaza catastrophic. More than 500,000 classified as starving and struggling to find drinkable water, with the war zone now on the brink of famine.
All right, Jay Gray joins us now live. Jay, that comment we heard from the IDF officer about there being enough food in Gaza, how does he explain the images we just saw of all those people suffering with so much hunger?
Yeah, and Tom, we pressed the colonel on that. He didn't answer directly, but did say that there may be a capacity and distribution problem. Those his words for the humanitarian agencies on the ground in Gaza.
All right, Jay Gray from Jerusalem tonight. Jay, thank you. There are new developments in the investigation into that mass shooting that killed 14 people at a university in Prague. Police releasing body cam video of their response to the rampage. Keir Simmons now with new details on the race to stop a tragedy.
Tonight, newly released body cam footage during a police hunt for a shooter who murdered 13 university students and a faculty member, then killed himself. The officers in Prague go floor to floor, entering college classrooms where many barricaded themselves in, terrified. And more footage shows students and their teachers lined up outside Charles University, many emerging with their hands up. The alleged killer, a 24-year-old man, shot himself dead after being confronted by armed officers, leaving behind piles of unused ammunition. He's thought to have killed at random, but most of the dead and wounded are women. 25 were injured, many cowering on balconies and jumping to safety. There are questions tonight over whether the worst mass shooting in Czech history could have been prevented. Reports say police got a warning and have been searching this field, investigating whether the university shooter murdered a man and his 2-month-old daughter last week. He's also thought to have killed his father at a separate location, while detectives try to unravel why he did something so terrible.
Our friend was shot in the accident, so we came here to honor what happened.
A shattering, and for the Czech Republic, rare mass shooting that's left this university community in mourning. Keir Simmons, NBC News.
Back here at home to the crisis at the southern border. Record numbers of migrants crossing over this week, and our team was there today as busloads of migrants were released onto the streets in Arizona. Our Julia Ainsley is there.
Tonight, Customs and Border Protection overwhelmed by an unprecedented number of migrants crossing the southern border. Nearly 50,000 undocumented migrants crossed in just 4 days this week, shattering records never seen before. The record levels pushing border stations past capacity. In Eagle Pass, Texas, migrants crossing dangerous waters and waiting by the hundreds to be taken in by Border Patrol. In Arizona, agents dropping off migrants in downtown Nogales to free up space. This single mother from Mexico says she wants to get to family in South Carolina. She said life in the state of Chiapas was too dangerous. We cannot work. There is too much violence, she tells us. With her, migrants from Africa, China, South America, young and old. Officials telling us dropping off migrants like this is a last resort. Here, migrants receive help from nonprofits before boarding buses, paid for by the county, then brought to shelters in Tucson. The director of nonprofit Casa Alitas says they need more help or migrants could be left lost and homeless.
The funding that we have set aside for our work is not meeting the demand that we've seen.
Biden administration officials plan to travel to Mexico next week to talk about curbing the record migration.
More people are on the move in this hemisphere than that's been the case since World War II.
The border crisis leading to more migrant deaths. This horrific video captured just before 2 young migrants sank under muddy water at the Texas border and drowned. Back in Nogales, thousands continue to arrive, overwhelming an already broken system. The acting commissioner of Customs and Border Protection tells NBC News his agency is facing a serious challenge and needs more funding from Congress to continue to apprehend migrants who cross illegally.
Okay, we are just 3 days away from Christmas, and the holiday travel rush is in full swing. Just as millions are on the move, and we're tracking storms moving into the southwest. Tom Costello is monitoring it all from Reagan National Airport. So, Tom, how's it looking tonight?
FlightAware reports about 4,000 flight delays nationwide today. That's really just because of the sheer number of flights, a very big number. Only about 80 flight cancellations or so nationwide, but we do expect we could see a very big, heavy air travel day again tomorrow. On this massive travel day, it's all about volume. Planes and passengers, with airlines and control towers yet again managing near record numbers. 2.6 million through TSA checkpoints Thursday, more expected today, with long but mostly fast-moving lines.
So far, it's nice because I'm here early. And so no problem.
Just for some 30 to 45-minute delays.
The National FAA Command Center watching every flight, tower, and weather report.
As soon as something happens in the airspace system, we react immediately.
The good news, good flying weather across most of the country. The FlightAware Misery Map today highlighted big delays in red, including Miami, Denver, Phoenix, San Francisco, L.A., Houston, and Dallas.
Runway 18 left at Alpha 65 on a bridge.
The DFW Ops Center monitoring 5 terminals, 7 runways, and 80,000 bags a day. DFW is the second busiest airport in the country and the world behind Atlanta. 1,600 flights a day, 250,000 passengers every day, after hitting a new record last summer.
So when something goes wrong in the Northeast, we feel it here. When something goes wrong here, they feel it on the West Coast.
Today, it's also all about the volume on the nation's roads, with 104 million people driving over the holiday on mostly dry roads today.
It's about 5 hours, so I get a lot of coffee. I try and only stop once during the drive. It's not too bad.
The heaviest traffic expected on Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
All right, in just 60 seconds, the dramatic moment a man trapped on a cliffside for days was finally rescued. Our cameras were right there. Next. Welcome back. We're learning new details about a man trapped on a San Diego cliffside. Our cameras were rolling as the intense rescue mission unfolded. Liz Kreutz with that video and the story.
Tonight, a dramatic end to a dangerous rescue. A man finally free after being trapped deep inside a cliff along the San Diego coast. The harrowing around-the-clock rescue taking more than 20 hours and 150 crew members.
This man has now emerged for the first time in potentially days. Crews carefully bringing him to safety.
Try and shimmy with your right.
Officials say the man fell 15 feet into a narrow hole just over a foot wide. He told authorities he had been screaming for days.
There was no way to move them down. They were pinned from the midsection down through their legs.
The man, who has not been identified, discovered Thursday afternoon by these teenagers who heard his cries and called authorities.
Please help us get out of here.
They took this video as they tried to help.
And you could see his hand?
Yeah. We were trying to pull him up. Unfortunately, we weren't able to, and at that point we realized just how stuck he was.
The mission so challenging that some crew members had to go into the tunnel upside down, held up by their feet to drill through the rocks, at times hampered by high tide and concerns he could drown.
He started losing a lot of consciousness through the night last night.
Crews giving him an IV and Gatorade to keep him alive, working overnight through lightning and torrential rain, little by little chipping away at the rocks until they could ease him out. The man injured but alert, thanking crews as he was rushed to the hospital. Neighbors watching, overwhelmed and grateful.
It's a Christmas miracle. That's all I can say.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News, San Diego.
What a rescue. Okay, we're back in a moment with exclusive new reporting. The general who ordered that Chinese spy balloon shot down and what it was like to track it and face it up close. We're back now with an NBC News exclusive. It's been 10 months since a Chinese spy balloon floated across the U.S. And tonight, the general who tracked and ordered it shot down is speaking out for the first time. Courtney Hubie has his story.
Americans got a look at that Chinese spy balloon as it flew thousands of miles across the country, but few have ever seen it up close. General Glenn Van Herk is one of them.
It's really humbling actually to go there and be able to see what so much work and
coordination and effort went into.
For 8 days, Van Herk, the commander of NORAD and U.S. Northcom, and his team monitored the spy balloon as it approached a